This is the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast.
Oh no! We suck again!
I'm getting confused. What game are you calling?
I'm calling both games.
It is caught by Kelsey! Touchdown! Kansas City!
Anthony for three. Bang!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast, episode number 81. I am Ruckus.
And I'm Spenace the Menace.
And we will be going over the starting lineup, the good, the bad, the ugly, some high heat for the NFL, some color commentary of our year in review for 2023, our film room, which I am still trailing on Spenace, as per usual.
A lot of games on the docket and a lot of points on the table.
And then we have our film room.
Well, that is film room. It's all film room. There's two different slides for it this week.
My brain defaulted, and then Carter.exe quit working. Oh well. And then we go with our stud and duds, and we can add that to the dud as well as Ruckus decides to be a dunce. Oh well. Anyways, all right. So go ahead with the starting lineup.
And now we are off to the starting lineup. And the big elephant in the room, we're going to get it out of the way quickly. And he would have chose it whether or not Shohei Ohtani had gone there. So I at least can respect this decision a little more.
Yoshinobu
Yamamoto is a Dodger for 12 years, $325 million.
You said to say it fast, so I said it fast. You're welcome.
Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I am very intrigued on how he is going to do in the American baseball system, which is definitely a much longer grind than what it would be in Japan. Because I know you probably would catch on to a little bit more as to like how long their seasons are in Japan when you were there.
Yeah, and the games were definitely a lot longer too compared to what they are now in the major leagues as well. And they're more intense too. Like the games feel more like a playoff game when you go. Like mine was the Giants versus the
Swallows. Giants versus the Swallows, yeah. But you do see, but where I'm getting at here is that it's more so that the physical toll that comes with being in the MLB is a much different ground, because the United States is a larger country with, I would say, a lot more variety in terms of climate.
Yeah,
because there's
areas. It depends on the stadiums you go to as well. Because I went to the Tokyo Dome, and that was pretty much climate controlled, whereas or like some others are open air designs.
Yeah, I mean that's just how baseball is. And as far as Japanese pitchers and imports coming into the United States, the Padres also agreed on a 5-year, $28 million contract on Yuki Matsui. Mitch Garver is going to the Mariners on a 2-year, $24 million deal.
He's going to the dock side of the rival, going from the Rangers to the Mariners.
I thought the dark side in this case was the Astros.
Well, I'm saying this as far as going from to becoming a Ranger to then moving to the Mariners. Like, going for, like, yes, the Astros are the bad guys of that area of the American League, but anyways, I was just kind of pointing that out there for people that were curious.
There will be tweaks to the pitch clock and base path rules. We'll know a little bit more of that closer time, because we don't fully know. I saw a bunch of different things of what they were testing, but I don't know how much of the testing is going to go through. And then Deontay Wilder, who in about 2 or 3 weeks is actually going to be on a TV show with a lot of different reality TV people of the sort, including one Johnny Bananas and CT from The Challenge, as Deontay Wilder will be on The Traitors here in a couple of weeks, as that will premiere on Peacock. But he gets stunned by Joseph Parker and spoils a potential fight between him and Anthony Joshua for the heavyweight title. So at least we don't have that to worry about. He can focus on his promo of The Traitors, which, by the way, really good show. If you ever watched the first season of that.
I haven't
But
seen
now,
it, by the way.
I highly recommend you watch it, because it basically, The Traitors is basically like a game of Mafia. Like, it's a game of Mafia on in the form of a reality TV show.
Okay.
And now, after we got through the starting lineup, we didn't have a whole lot there. We now can get to our Eastwood segment, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
All right, there we go. That's the audio. What was good in sports this week? Well, go ahead.
I kind of ended up coming up with the idea for all of these because of things that I found. The good in sports this week, actually, ironically enough, at least if there was one thing that Shohei Ohtani did right, in order to get the number that he wanted as a member of the Dodgers, he had to actually. It's been in professional sports tradition. I'm sure you've probably seen it numerous times that if you have a number you want and someone else has it, you generally are going to be able to make a purchase the number. You actually have to pay for it. And Shohei Ohtani did this in kind of a rather extravagant way in buying a Porsche for Joe Kelly's wife to get the jersey number that he wanted, which was number 17. I did not open the clips of it. I didn't watch the clips of Shohei giving it. But just the fact that he knew what the due diligence was and did it, as I don't know if that's necessarily standard for just American sports or if that's for even American and international sports about the purchase, but I know it's at least in America.
I just know that if you switch your number, or if that player gets traded during the season and you just bought that jersey, that you can
you can get the refunds for Fanatics, yeah.
Yeah. And then also with that, the number change for the player, they have to pay extra for it because they have to take it out of inventory of the league so that they can switch out for the new stuff.
Yeah, and Shohei was already changing teams anyway, so
literally just like traveled across the subway, pretty much. In a sense, went from
pretty
Anaheim
much you're going from Anaheim to Chavez Ravine. Doesn't take much. But I will let you go ahead and go with the bad for this week there, Ruckus.
Alrighty, so Aaron Gordon got a few owies during the Christmas break, as he got 21 stitches to his hands and including his face after the family dog goes postal.
Yeah, I didn't see very much as to how it happened, but my God, and he actually, I think, had done this. He had 16 points and 10 rebounds, and then I think it happened after the game. I think after he'd gotten home. Tavis Caldwell Pope said he was planning on reaching out after finding out the news at practice. I think it just said it was just a dog attack. I don't think it really gave very many details as to. It basically was his face and his right shooting hand. But it says he is in good condition and will remain away from the team with no concrete timeline for his return. But it's looking like the optimism says it could be a short-term absence.
That's good. But
so,
what else is hopefully a short-term absence here soon?
Well, this I think might be a little bit longer term than we think as far as the downright ugly in sports, and that is involving, in staying in the NBA, the Detroit Pistons, as they have lost an NBA record 27 games in a row, becoming the third team in recent years to have their fan base chanting "sell the team" in the last couple of years.
I thought it was just Dale Gribble saying, trying to say, you know what they say about Ford, fix it again, Tony. And then Hank goes, "That's Fiat, Dale."
The Pistons have not won a game since October 28th, when they defeated the Chicago Bulls at home.
I'm sorry, that's just too funny. The Chicago Bulls.
They have not won a game in November, and
that's the name change that they should have for sell the team is the Chicago Bulls, as they.
And they set the loss record against the Brooklyn Nets, who they lost to in back-to-back games. And in order for them to get off this schneid, if they want to get off the schneid in December, they have to take on the Boston Celtics and the Toronto Raptors. And that's in order for them to get a win in 2023.
Man, they really got to beat them Chicago Bulls, though.
Well, their first 3 games in 2024 are the Rockets, the Jazz, and the Warriors. I think we're going to be on Pistons win a game watch and see whether or not this 2-28 team will manage to get themselves a victory. Will it happen? Nobody knows, at least not yet anyway.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Meanwhile, while the Pistons are still struggling to win a game, we may end up having some struggling to figure out who is making and struggling to make some sense of what is going on in the NFL, as we are now in the high heat and we are recapping some of the major games that happened in Week 16 of the NFL season. We kick it off on Thursday night with the Rams defeating the Saints 30-22. The question of the game, or at least from the recap of this game, with Dallas clinching a playoff berth and a wide open NFC South, which we will speak on a little bit later as we will piggyback with the Saints side of this. The question here is more centered around the victors, the Los Angeles Rams, as will they be able to be one of the teams that could sneak into the playoffs when the regular season is done?
I think the Rams got healthy at the right time, because for a while there, you didn't have Cooper Kupp, you didn't have Kyron Williams after he suffered an ankle injury and was out a few weeks. And then the only other few good weapons that he had offensively before Matthew Stafford went down were Puka Nacua and Atwell, and then the resurgence of Demarcus Robinson, former Chief. And then when Stafford came back after ripped a hole in their offense, things seem to be going in a better direction for them since Stafford has just been on a tear lately and making Demarcus Robinson and the rest of the receivers and running backs look good. And the last time he had this kind of resurgence, it seems like the Rams ended up going to the Super Bowl. And I think who did the Rams have to beat in order to get to the Super Bowl? Was it it wasn't the 49ers, was it? On Super Bowl 56?
Can't remember who they beat. I think it was. My hunch was.
Say
'Cause I think it was they.
2022 playoffs.
Yeah, because I think it was 20.
Looking at Wikipedia.
Yeah, because I think I'm double checking that because it
Actually, it
was.
was 2021 playoffs.
Because I think it was the.
Because it was the. So
They defeated
actually, I
the
think
Bucks.
it was.
Well,
they beat the Bucks.
No, the Bucks made it. No, the Bucks made it. It was Super Bowl 56.
Oh, it was San Francisco.
Yeah, it was San Francisco.
I see now. Because. Yep, we just figured it out. Because Cincinnati beat Kansas City in a thriller by 3.
Yep, it was 20-17 and beating the 49ers. And it was the. Yeah, because that was the Dr. Dre Super Bowl.
Yep. And then you had Curtis Jackson, aka 50 Cent, doing his best impression of Spider-Man.
That actually, and the funny thing, that was actually an element that was done in the actual video. He actually started that video out upside down.
Yep.
For In the Club, yeah, he actually started that out upside down.
All right. Are we still on the Rams Saints question?
I believe that yes, because I have not responded to that. I believe that the Rams can. I believe the Rams are in a good position to make that happen, but they must win this game on Sunday. Who are they playing? The New York Football Giants. And they're
fairly easy.
Yeah, which is a little easier. It's not the most difficult that they could play. They're playing the 49ers next after that, which I think they could involve themselves in a starter sitting game, which may give the Rams a little bit of a leg up. If San Francisco has not clinched home field advantage already, they may play on and try and claw for it. But San Francisco has a gimme next week, so in playing the Commanders. And the Rams currently sit as the 6th seed, with Seattle sitting at the 7 if the season were to end today. So there's a little bit of interesting that we'll get to speak on here a little later.
Chicago Bills and then the Los Angeles Chargers.
Well, it would be the Buffalo Bills in this case. The Bills 24 and the Chargers 22.
I just had to put that dig in there.
I knew you were digging. Probably digging his own grave.
Hey, I heard that.
Oh, did I say that?
Is the job of Sean McDermott safe for now is the question. I think if he keeps winning and shows that he also isn't a kryptonite for the Bills like Ken Dorsey was, I think he's safe for now.
I think the seat is lukewarm. I think it's lukewarm, but realize that if he makes the playoffs, it's definitely going to have a little bit of pressure on. It's a little bit of a pressure cooker for the playoffs for him because I think if Sean McDermott wants to be the coach that is going to try and push the Bills over the hump, he's going to have a deep run in the playoffs, no questions asked. And injuries have been his Achilles heel with that, but it's really more so now of like how patient can the Bills ownership really be with having Sean McDermott there? That is the ultimate question involved. Is if he doesn't get as far or further than where he did last year, are you just satisfied with playoff appearances and being complacent there? Or are you wanting to look for a coach that'll kind of push yourself up to the next level
Also,
that you need to go?
I think if Sean McDermott's head coaching job is still a thing with the Bills, he needs to beat some big name teams in the playoffs. Just because you beat the Chiefs in the regular season doesn't mean you get to keep your job. I think you need to not only try and beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, if the Chiefs even get far enough to where they face them, he would need to do that. He would also need to just, in general, keep going at the rate that he's going now with the aggressiveness that the team has been through. Because, like, Josh Allen has been saying, since the interview that I saw with him whenever they were about to take on the Chiefs, and they're saying, hey, we need to treat every game like it's a playoff game. It's do or die time.
Yeah, it's urgency. It's urgency at this point. Play with a sense of urgency.
Yep. All right. Let's go to the congealed one.
Yes, this is a slight piggybacking with the Saints, but we will throw 3 different games into this. The Browns defeating the Texans 36-22, the Falcons defeating the Colts 29-10, and the Buccaneers dismantling the Jaguars 30-12. The real question here is, do we know who is going to come out and represent the South Division of either conference? Like, where are we at right now with the AFC and NFC South?
I hate to say this, but I remember a few years ago, the NFC East was in a bit of a...
Yeah, this is definitely very much like the NFC East in 2020, where it's just like who wants it? Who wants it less is what.
A big old game of chicken.
Yeah, it's just a big old game of chicken. Right now, I would say as far as the AFC South, injuries are piling up. And great matchups are at a premium.
Yeah.
Right now, the teams that have the best matchups for the AFC South are the Jaguars. The Jaguars have the Panthers and Titans. The Colts and Texans have each other for one more game. And the Colts have the Raiders and the Texans have the Titans. So I almost wouldn't be surprised if we see it be Jacksonville, Houston, especially if they get Stroud back, from his concussion, I think Stroud is going to be super deadly for them down this major critical stretch.
Or they could be deadly to themselves, depending on how Stroud plays after the concussion protocol is through.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if you see Stroud just like completely like pass this thing and be ready to go and be ready to dominate.
Yeah. And then the Falcons have just been weird. I wouldn't be surprised if they let go Artie Smith. As much as I talked crap on him earlier in the season, I think it was kind of valid.
This has been a weird division race. Because at one moment it's the Buccaneers in the lead, one moment it's the Falcons in the lead, one moment it's the Saints are in the lead. They're jockeying for position like as if it's a triple threat match in the WWE with some wrestling.
Or if it's like the seahorse races in Shark Tale, where it's like Lucky Day gets in the finish at the last second, woohoo! Like it just, I don't know. To me, it's gonna be a coin toss at the end of the day. The NFL is a very luck based thing, it seems, and momentum based thing. You just really don't know which team is going to actually come from behind or to get the ball advantage taken away from them where they would not score or they would score. It just
there are
weird.
2 swing games this week. We have 2 swing games this week, and it is 2 swing games that potentially could do something here. Well, the swing games this week are the Raiders and Colts, the Texans and Titans, and the Saints and Bucks. The Falcons play the Bears, which actually is a potential swing game because the Bears are still mathematically in it. Somehow the Bears are surging. Where did this come from?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
I'm gonna say that I think there was some sort of rallying cry that came from this Bears team after during the 4 games that Tyson Bagent stepped in and filled in and said basically y'all have to step up and win games if you're going to contend and have to deal with me at your quarterback helm.
Sounds like someone exchanged some Mountain Dew and Skittles to the refs, and they were like, "Yo, make us win," and they're like, "All right, bet."
Yeah, but the Jacksonville Jaguars have the Carolina Panthers. I know that the Panthers have not been necessarily making games gimmies, but if the Jaguars are healthy enough, they should beat Carolina with next to no issues. So honestly, I think it's probably going to be the Jaguars and the Bucks, but the Bucks must beat New Orleans in order to get through, because the Bears-Falcons game is going to be a swing game as to whether or not the Buccaneers take over and win the NFC South. And then I don't think we really hit the swing games until next week in the AFC South.
Yeah. All right, Cowboys and Dolphins.
The Cowboys and Dolphins. Miami won this game 22-20, and ultimately the question here is, did we learn about any of these teams following this game?
I told you this yesterday, and I'm going to say it again. I think both these teams are very equally matched with each other. They both have a very outstanding defense, and even the Dolphins match well with the Chiefs back in Germany. But the Cowboys, when they're at home, they do better than when they're away, which is a kryptonite that has been taking them out. But they were very close in this one with the Dolphins. They had a lot of special teams help, and so the Dolphins, they were both punting back and forth, kind of like a barrage of just cannons going on each side. There were a lot of random moments where we thought that one offense was going to gain itself over the defense, and then it turns out that they had a 3-and-out and then had to punt it again or
Kick a field goal. Jason Sanders, man, that kicker, a whole bunch of field goals from a long distance away. I believe all 3 of his field goals in that game were at 50 plus.
Yeah, and I thought in general both teams looked good. That looks like a playoff matchup.
Yeah, Jason Sanders kicked 5 field goals in that game. 3 of them were from 50 plus. 57, 52, 54, 35, and won the game on a 29-yard field goal as time expired.
Yep, enough said about that, I would say.
So, honestly, I think what we learned about this team, or about each of these teams, I would say for Dallas, home field, they learned that, honestly, home field is... They're playing like homebodies. They're better at home. They're better at home. They're better with their own crowd. They're better with the high jumbotron in Jerry World. So Jerry World equals major success for the Cowboys. Now for the Dolphins, what did we learn? We learned that they're resilient. We've learned that they're resilient. We've known that Miami has the most creative offense in the league. We know that Miami can stifle people on defense. So honestly, I think we've learned that Miami can kind of put a lot of things together and make it all look like it is a championship team. And they're a team that could very well break a lot of Ravens fans' hearts. They're a team with potential, and those two go against each other this week. And the next game here, we're going to the games on Monday. The Raiders defeat the Chiefs 20-14. And I think you and I are going to see 2 different sides of this here. The question of this game recap is now the appropriate time for the Chiefs to hit the panic button on the season? And by the panic button, I mean just, is this now the time where the urgency needs to kick in?
I think, like a lot of analysts have said, that Mahomes has been saying for the past couple weeks that the offense, if they just do this or that, they'll be a lot better and be able to win games. Well, that hasn't been the winning formula so far in these past couple of games. There's not very many words I could say about the Chiefs offense right now, and it just seems like for the most part they're either lost or they shoot themselves in the foot more times than Plexico Burress ever did when it comes to just offensive like flags on the plays with holding or offsides or just false starts and stuff like that. Like Jawan Taylor has been hit more times with penalties than really anyone. You've had receivers dropping the ball like crazy, like they all have like a or like an ad with or promotion with Butterfinger. And the game that I saw on Christmas kind of reminded me of the ending to The Longest Yard when it was the guards versus the convicts, and that first like half was just like nothing was going right for Paul Crew and his guys because he was threatened to throw the game so that he could not
Get
rot in
free.
jail. And I don't know what the hell was going on with the Chiefs. But what I do know is when I was in the shower, the score was 7-3 Chiefs after a nice little Pacheco touchdown. And then when I got out of the shower, it was 17-7. And I'm just like, what the hell happened here?
14 points in 7 seconds, both of them defensive touchdowns.
And then also you had the audacity for as Mahomes to instead of throwing it out of bounds, you just kind of go, I'm just gonna throw this and see what happens. And then it turned into a interception that was later overturned. Like, if I'm Mahomes, I try to do more of like those passes that you do to Kelsey, where it's like a short throw or something where it's like a screen that gets your fast receivers open, like Rashee Rice. There was a couple times this season where he had like little screen passes where his offensive line like pretty much just like got him to the end zone, and he scored a touchdown after there was a challenge call that was overturned on like an incomplete pass because the wide receiver just didn't have both feet in bounds. Like, be more creative rather than, or if you're gonna be, what I mean by creative is if you're gonna like do more things, at least like switch it up. But don't do it to the point where you get too cute and then you end up shooting yourself in the foot, because that was bad. Yesterday, Monday, that was terrible.
But
and I don't know if it's a panic button. I don't think it's a panic button moment because we've had this shit go on since week 1, and somehow we managed to win 9 games doing this shit. We've lost a lot of big games because of dumb little mistakes. This is the first year of a new offensive line where you pay a guy an ass load of money to get holding calls left and right, and every Chiefs fan that I see walking by, whether it's in public or whatever, is wants the head of Jawan Taylor. The same could be said for Donovan Smith. Donovan Smith has had a horrible season as a left tackle. He was not very good with the Bucks either.
I think the loss of Orlando Brown hurt them more.
Orlando Brown was kind of a mid tackle though. Like, he wasn't the greatest tackle. Wanya Morris has done a better job, but like what we saw in that Raiders-Chiefs game was almost kind of similar to the Super Bowl 55 matchup between the Bucks and the Chiefs. Like, the O-line couldn't really help Mahomes, and Mahomes had to run for his damn life. You also just had a running game room that was just inconsistent at times and beat up because you had Pacheco with the shoulders that came back in for his first game since then. And
now out with a concussion.
Out. Yep. And then CH was out there more often, and then you had LaMichael Pirine, and Derek McKinnon is out on IR with a groin injury. So that blocking presence with him as a fullback is missing. It's just a whole thing like that, and I forgot to mention some wide receivers, but you only have a few more weapons to your disposal. You have Richie James, which has been kind of like hit or miss, and he just now got back into the mix. You got Justin Ross, which welcome back Justin Ross, for 2 yards, and I don't know. I don't know if the Chiefs get very far in the playoffs. But what I do feel like could happen is if the defense consistently keeps doing what they did every game, where they are just clawing away at the teams and getting those big turnovers and stuff, I think they have a better shot. Yes, their offense has been a huge load of shit this season, but the defense has been as good as it has ever been in any year of the Mahomes era, with the
But
young
here,
mix of young and old talent. I think it's not a panic button time. I think it's just a let's clean this shit up, let's limit the turnovers, and let's figure this out. And if we lose in the first round, so be it.
although I think that is the attitude of how this panic button has to be hit, I think it's time. I think it's time the alarm for urgency needs to be pounded.
I think they also are going to invest heavily in the wide receiver room next offseason. Like, I think they get rid of
I believe the
MVS.
wide receiver room is going to get invested at that point. But yeah, you can only do so much with it now.
I also don't know what the dead cap is for MVS, but my guess is they try to restructure him at the end of the season. Anyways, go ahead.
However, if the Chiefs are going to want to have to hit that deep run, that glass needs to be broken and the alarm needs to be hit for urgency. Because this is the worst season of Mahomes' career. This is the least likely to be executed, like, for success of a season that Mahomes and Kelsey have had for quite some time.
Okay, can I stop you there for a second? So, when you say it's his worst season of his career, I think that is a load of baloney. I think the year Super Bowl 55 happened was the worst season of his career. He had Tyreek Hill, and he had a really beat up O line, and that O line really killed us. I don't think this year was his worst. I think it would have been even more worse if he is out for the rest of the season and tore like a knee ligament or just had like a gruesome injury. This isn't his worst season by far. There were people that were saying that when Tyreek Hill got traded, they were like, "Oh, he got traded and this or that. They got Juju and that's about it." And we got a frickin' Super Bowl out of that. The year that we won it after 50 years of a drought of no Super Bowls, we had a semi-mediocre O-line. We had Sammy Watkins and a few other guys. But that was it. You could have argued that that was one of his worst things. But I would argue that Super Bowl 55 year was the worst. You could also argue that the AFC Championship year that we lost it by 3 was the worst. But I digress. Go ahead, Spenace.
Yeah, but look at, according to the numbers, a QBR, which is, we are at a career low for Mahomes at 63.1. His best season, he was at 80.3. He mostly, in his great seasons, are typically sitting around 77, 78. He is at a 63. He was at a 79 last year when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl and he threw for 5,000 yards. He will have his second lowest regular season passing yard total in his career. Only one lower, 2019. This is the season where he has thrown for the most interceptions in his career. His next lowest, 2021. 2021, where he threw for 13. He has thrown for more interceptions this year than in any other year in his career. he is. If he gets sacked 4 more times in the next 2 games, he will have been sacked for the most times in a season in his career. His completion percentage is about par for the course. About par for the course for Mahomes, sitting at around close to 67%. So yes, have the yards per throw been a little bit lower this year due to the lack of quality in deep threat receivers that he has? Absolutely. But what was the main calling card for Mahomes? His arm strength.
His uniqueness of the throws too, like his
Well,
baseball-like throws, like the
yeah,
sidearms and
his
stuff like that.
his arm slots. It's the uniqueness of his throws, which actually has been very well placed into the modern game. And he is a revolutionary quarterback. I am not denying any of that. But I am saying that this year, the numbers and the statistics are showing a little more of what I'm saying, that this is probably the lowest point season-wise in Mahomes' career. Although you could say that certain qualities of teams around him could make certain things lower, but statistically, and in terms of the efficiency with the statistics, this is the worst season of his career. And receivers, the receiver room has not helped. Injuries everywhere have not helped. The defense this year has been the Chiefs' signature thing. But when you're supposed to have what everybody wants to claim as the number 1 quarterback in the league, and defense is your team's strong side, they've been stronger on the defensive side of the ball, something is not quite going to add up right. And I think the Chiefs could very well have now found their ways of getting exposed. And I'm saying exposed in the sense of more so that teams have now figured out how to exploit the scheme and the arm slots and everything that Mahomes can bring to the table. So yes, Mahomes has not been able to be the in-game magician like he is. More so due to kind of really not as much help in the receiver room. That's going to get bolstered.
All right,
But
we
when
should
you look at that,
probably-
you can look at that statistically and say that the injuries to a lot of the backfield that is effective. Yes, Jerick McKinnon that hurts. Isaiah Pacheco for those 2 games and they were out. Yes, that definitely stung. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the next man up, and he's not executing. So the lack of execution from players who have been put into bigger roles than who are put into more critical roles than what they're ready for at this particular time is, so it's the game almost being too big. But with playoff football being here in about 3 weeks, I think the Kansas City Chiefs, especially on the offensive side of the ball, are really needing to hit the panic button.
Yeah.
The next game was the 4:00 game for Christmas. Eagles 33, Giants 25. And the real question here is, do we feel like the Eagles are getting too comfortable with their position in the NFC standings? They are currently in second place. in the NFC standings, and they have clinched the NFC East, which does put them in a very comfortable position. But do we really feel like the Eagles are just coasting?
I think they're coasting way too much. It showed in many of their big games this year. They could have beat the Cowboys at Lincoln Financial, and they didn't. They barely squeaked ahead the Chiefs at
They won the game at
GEHA.
Lincoln Financial.
Okay,
They won
never
the game
mind.
at Lincoln Financial. They lost it at Jerry World.
Okay. But I think if you're going to lose the games that you needed and or make big mistakes on offense, kind of like the Chiefs were doing, you're getting way too comfortable. I feel like in a weird way, the Eagles are kind of in a boat of like what the Chiefs are, but in a sense where the Eagles are more so they have their offense together for the most part. It's just like trying to make sure that people are open and out there with the veteran receivers rather than having to run for their lives. Like they also took a step back this season. Not as big of a step back this season as the Chiefs did, but a little bit back when it comes to their inconsistency on offense.
Yeah, I think that it has hurt them a little bit that Jalen Hurts has not been throwing the ball as effectively. Hurts actually, this is the first time that Hurts has ever hit double-digit interceptions in his career. Secondly, I mean, they've been rushing the ball and has lost more fumbles this year than he has. He's lost double the fumbles of what he had in his entire career. Out of the 6 fumbles this year he's lost 4 of them. So that's a little. So there are some things that Hurts has had a little bit of a down year. But I think that the Eagles can afford they can afford to coast a little bit because they still have the Cardinals and another game with the Giants to go. But the biggest thing is they have to avoid complacency. And I think that they can eventually get to the point where if they don't want to go for home field advantage, they could rest. They could rest and try and keep guys healthy. But it's just a matter of how cutthroat do the Eagles want to getting into that point. I don't think that they're in a panic situation because their offense is versatile enough to be able to do everything that they need to. Their pass rush is stifling and can do exactly what it wants to, pretty much nearly when it wants to. I think their linebacking and secondary could use a little bit of work. But that's because they also lost a couple of different players that were very useful to them a year ago. So the Eagles are getting comfortable, almost too comfortable. But I think they need to kind of prepare themselves with a little bit of urgency. But they're more of a position to rest a little bit and get healthy for the level notching up here very, very soon.
All right, next one.
And the Ravens beating the 49ers 33-19. Does this game show more of the Ravens' strengths or the 49ers' weaknesses?
The Ravens just looked like the better team defensively overall. I think the Ravens' strengths are mainly defense. Besides, like their offense with Lamar Jackson, I think a big part of it was they took down Brock Purdy's weakness, which was getting intercepted multiple times and just getting to Purdy and company. I think it showed more of the strengths of the Ravens just based off their defense.
Purdy was only sacked twice, intercepted 4 times, and Christian McCaffrey still had a decent game. I believe that Christian McCaffrey or Tyreek Hill will be your MVP of the league. However, I think the 49ers kind of got caught coasting. Kind of got caught because they've been doing so much that I think they were due to take a loss somewhere. However, I think it was just Baltimore was able to cover well and put themselves into position to be able to force the Niners into mistakes. Defensively, on the other hand, the 49ers' normal calling card of trying to get to the quarterback, Lamar Jackson, yes, was sacked twice, but Lamar Jackson can move. I think this is more tailored to what the Ravens' strengths were, in that having Lamar Jackson be able to move as well as he did, Lamar Jackson being able to use the targeting of Zay Flowers as a primary receiver to go to in place of Mark Andrews. So I think there's comfortability there. So I think that there's a lot of things that the Ravens did right in this game. And that held up a little bit better than what the 49ers did wrong. So I think this was more about the Ravens' strengths being put on display. But still, I think we need to see more of this when the level goes up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. All right, we ready for our color commentary?
Actually, I'm gonna say let's go to the film room.
All right, and then go to the color commentary afterwards.
I think we're gonna go to the film room, so we're gonna stay on football.
All right, sounds good.
We're gonna stay on football here, and we are gonna start with college football. Currently still to be scored for us. We are currently at an 8-point differential as Ruckus has now finally broken the 200-point mark.
Yay.
I'm sitting at 208, and as I also broke the 200 mark. Currently, games still going on. With just starting the third quarter, USC is up on Louisville by 2 touchdowns. And Oklahoma State is currently up 10-6 on A&M with about 11 minutes to go in this first half. So those games are still being scored. However, we are now getting to the New Year's Day games, and there are points galore. We are starting out. Yeah, go ahead and put in those copy paste there, Ruckus. As we are going to start with the Wolfpack of NC State and the Wildcats of Kansas State.
I always say, Emaw, baby. Every man a Wildcat. I'm going
as much as I would love to go K-State here, I actually am going to take the Wolfpack. I'm going to take the Wolfpack of NC State. The second game, Arizona for 2 points. Arizona, Oklahoma.
Even though I have no faith that Dylan Gabriel will play, because I'm not sure if he is playing due to the portal transfer, but either way, I am going with my Boomer Sooners. My Oklahoma Sooners. Dad would be proud. Anyways, next one. Oregon State versus
Notre Dame, and I am taking the Golden Domers of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
I'm a bit irie too, don't you know? Do some Notre Dame action there, and then Missouri versus Ohio State. I'm gonna go with Missouri.
Yeah, I am taking OHIO. I'm taking the Buckeyes here.
I'm taking
And that
Penn
one is
State for
fourth.
the Ole Miss Penn State. Sorry, go ahead.
And I'm going to say this in the form of 2 words as well. Hotty toddy. I'm taking Ole Miss. And now for 5 points, Georgia versus Florida State.
With them.
And I'm going to do this Pat McAfee style as well. And I'll let you follow along with it. Who's that coming down the track? It's the Mean Machine in red and black.
I thought we were gonna do the dogs.
I'm going with the Georgia Bull Dogs.
The absolute dogs.
Dog. I'm going with Georgia.
What?
And now for 6 points, Liberty versus Oregon.
All right, I like my chances with them Ducks. If that Duck can keep up with the push-ups like he did in the beginning of the season, I think the Oregon Ducks can keep it up against Liberty. Liberty.
I love the Flames. I almost went Liberty here.
Liberty.
But I believe that unlike Boise State taking on Oklahoma in this very, and actually, yeah, it is the Fiesta Bowl, in this very same bowl back in 2006, I don't see this going the exact same way. Quack, quack, quack. Going with the Oregon Ducks. And for 3 points, we have Iowa versus Tennessee. We're taking Tennessee. And now to the college football playoff. Our 7 pointers. Alabama versus Michigan.
And I picked Bama.
And I'm taking Alabama as well. Roll Tide.
And then for the Texas Longhorns versus the Washington
Washington Huskies. It's the Huskies.
And I'm going Washington Huskies as well, even though Matthew McConaughey would be really not appreciative of me not picking the Longhorns, but it is
Horns down. Washington. Taking the Huskies here, and Michael Penix Jr. We will have the national championship as our last game for college football next week. And that one will be a 10-point game. A 10-pointer for that national championship game next week.
Yeah.
So there will be points galore next week too. And now we go into the color commentary. And this episode. Oh yes, we still have the NFL.
And now to the Chicago Bills. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, and we are now going to remove these because these have been scored.
All right, so
and next.
Lions and Cowboys for 2 points. I'm gonna go with the Cowboys and Jerry
I think Detroit, although Detroit is also competing for this home field advantage, I think the Cowboys are at home. Yeah, they're at home for this one on Saturday. So I am taking the Dallas Cowboys, unfortunately. Dolphins, Ravens, the game of the week, 4 points.
I'm taking the Dolphins, and so is Spenace. And then we both decided that the Raiders were going to win against the Colts. We both
Gardner
decided
Minshew doesn't really have a solid pass target. I mean, he's got downs to throw to, but the loss of Michael Pittman is ultimately what's going to hurt them.
And then Rams Giants. We both picked the Rams.
I am taking the healthy at the right time LA Rams with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. And then Saints Bucks. This is the major swing game in the NFC South. And I am taking the Bucks.
Thank you.
And Ruckus is also taking them as well. I am going with the Seahawks here. The 12th man is going to be super active for this one.
Same here. And then for the Chiefs Bengals, Spenace decided to go with the Chiefs even though he spent 20 minutes.
Hold up. Though the Chiefs have had their downsides, especially on that offensive side, the Chiefs' offense should hold up against that Bengals D.
Keyword is should, but I'll allow it.
Yes. All right. Yes, the keyword is should. Because the hard part is that Cincinnati is also may also be playing without Jamar Chase.
Meanwhile, Ruckus tries to go find a pillow to suffocate Spenace with later while he goes to sleep. You're welcome.
Hey, I said playing. I said Cincinnati playing without Jamar Chase.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I had to deal with a loss in my losses in my fantasy football season because Jamar Chase. Well, not really Jamar Chase. I lost one because the Jets decided to lay an egg, and Jalen Waddle had a big game that I didn't expect, and then lost my third place game due to Jamar Chase not playing.
Yep, he lost to them damn elves. They cast a spell on him.
them elves. But we are going back to the anytime touchdown scorers this week. And your three are Ruckus.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, the wide receiver from the Detroit Lions.
Against the Cowboys.
Correctamundo. And then my tight end, I just decided to do wide receiver, tight end, and running back just to spice things up. My tight end will be Travis Kelce with an anytime touchdown score. I have faith that the man will get a touchdown.
Wait, and then, you mean Travis Ma'ato?
Mahomes and Ma'ato. Come on, Ma'ato. Or let's do Travis Kelce. Kelce, how much you can save while bundling home and auto. We can fit that on the shirt, right? I thought it was actually kind of funny in the franchise. So they're a little like Hard Knocks kind of thing that they do, called the franchise. There's if you I think it was like the first episode of season 4. If you like pause at a very particular moment, there's a spot in the locker room next to Kelsey's like actual locker, and it says Kelce, see how much you can save with home and auto. Like it's right there. I need to find it and show it to you, Spenace, but it's hilarious.
Yeah. I like the Ma'ato. I still think the Ma'ato is better.
But bundling home and auto is 4 words. But not if you bundle them.
Oh,
snap! All right, and then my running back for this anytime touchdown scorer is Raheem Mostert of the Miami Dolphins as they take on the Ravens. And Mostert has been good. Yes, he's a little beat up, but who isn't beat up at this point in the NFL season? Jalen Waddle looked like he was paper bones out there the last couple of games, getting hurt after a big run. Anyways, Mr. Spenace, who do you got?
I went a little bit safer with mine, as I kind of looked at some matchups and kind of saw some stuff that might be possible. The first one I'm going to go with is DeAndre Swift of the Philadelphia Eagles hopefully going to give me a tutty against the Arizona Cardinals. The next one is Deebo Samuel against the Washington Commanders. I mean, our defense. I could have went about 5,000 different ways with this. I could have went the cop-out route and gone Christian McCaffrey. I could have gone the tight end route and taken George Kittle. Probably still one of my favorite tight ends in all of the league. Although I like Travis Kelce, don't get me wrong, George Kittle is still up there with
Steve Buscemi.
tight end university. George Kittle, tight end university. Which actually University of Iowa is becoming. So,
Thank you, Sam Laporta.
well, it wasn't just Sam Laporta, but Sam Laporta is kind of an addition to it. But my third and my final pick, I am taking advantage of a leaky Giants secondary. In more so a Giants secondary that deals a little bit better with, or at least not as well with number 2 wide receivers, as Devontae Smith had at least a touchdown in that game last week. I am taking Puka Nacua to get a score. And that will wrap up the film room. As anytime touchdown scores, if we get all 3, it's 3 points. 2, it's a point. 1 is nothing. And if you get none, you lose 2. But now we go, finally, to our 2023 year in review. And the first major piece, the moment of the year.
All right, so for no surprise here for me, I put the Super Bowl 57 victory for the Kansas City Chiefs. Because number one, it wasn't just because the Chiefs won; it was because it was a very hyped up Super Bowl between the Kelsey brothers, as it was Jason Kelsey versus his younger brother Travis. It was also very hyped up because they were trying to get his mom to be the one to get the coin toss. They also did a lot of in general, like, stuff with the game, and the game was just a very interesting moment of the year for me, at least. I would also probably put in a second favorite was the Germany game in Frankfurt. I think that was a good one because they were playing the West Virginia song near the end of the game to like show what the fanfare is all about over in Frankfurt. But anyways, Spenace, go right ahead.
I have a tie. And the reason why I have a tie is because both of these moments were majorly impactful. The first one, and it's granted that yes, it may seem biased because it is my own team. However, it sold for $6 billion, an NFL record. It's Dan Snyder selling the Commanders to Josh Harris. At long last, granted that now there's some minority partner with Snyder suing Bank of America over it, but at the same time, Snyder selling the Commanders is kind of a welcome change that we now have time after this season to finally start to get accustomed to. But the second one is more impactful in terms of a sporting community world. And that is Lionel Messi coming to the MLS and playing for Inter Miami. Now, he could have gone to Saudi Arabia and gotten much more money. He could have done that. But Inter Miami, there was something there that Messi enjoyed. He also had a couple of teammates in Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets from Barcelona that he got to play with in Miami. Messi throughout that stretch, and especially winning that first tournament, was huge. So Messi to Inter Miami also, I believe, it raised the ticket prices for Inter Miami games, especially ones that Messi was in. However, it is impactful to the American soccer community. Why? You have the best player in the world, if not the best player of all time, in your league playing soccer. What else can you really be excited for?
Yeah, there's not much else than that. All right, we ready for the next one?
Yep.
All right.
Yep, we are actually going to do the lull moment of the year.
And for me, it has to go down to, it was either the Father's Day episode for the Kelsey Brothers on New Heights, where Ed was talking about the Old Guys Club, the effing Old Guys Club, uh, and or when they interviewed Chris Jones and talked about his moment in the 40-yard dash at the combine where he was wearing boxer shorts and his pickle fell out of his undies, so to speak, and the different little innuendos that Jason and Travis were making while Chris was just laughing his tail off, and I was dying laughing while at work listening to it. It was, I think that was probably one of the funnier moments this year, was listening to Chris Jones talk some smack, but also talk about what he did in his rookie seasons and whatnot. All right, Spenace, go ahead.
Although I think there were definitely some funnier moments in sport, I gotta go with the Jamar Chase press conference where he's talking about the Cleveland Browns, and they had recently decided to change their logo on the 50-yard line to this Keebler looking elf. And apparently, I think due to that change, I think Jamar Chase must have been living in a tree. Because he looked and said, "Man, we just lost to a bunch of elves." In pretty much calling the Cleveland Browns elves because of their mascot on the 50 that really isn't an official logo. Their logo is still the orange helmet.
Yeah. All right.
So, and the team of the year for you.
I went with the Arizona Diamondbacks because they were a team that no one thought was going to be on the radar of going to the postseason and getting as far as they did this year, going to the World Series. Granted, they lost it, but they still had a really great year. It could have gone way downhill quick for them, but they still managed to get through. Corbin Carroll had a year.
Yeah, he was definitely somebody who he was on my radar for player of the year. He was on my radar. If we had a rookie of the year, he would have been right on my radar.
Yeah.
For it. And I'm talking like rookie of the year as in like rookie of the year out of all sports.
Yeah.
So my team of the year, and it's got to be involving the different things involving water. And it's the Baltimore Orioles. In talking about the bird bath that was added over at section that was added over at Camden Yards, and Adley Rushman, who was an establisher of the culture in Baltimore's dugout. Brandon Hyde winning Manager of the Year in the AL. Baltimore winning the AL East and becoming scary for a Gamal Cup. I am going to say that, yes, my team of the year. I really would have a couple of teams I would have loved to have given this to. The Detroit Lions, the Houston Texans. Yes, the Arizona Diamondbacks were in my consideration. The Denver Nuggets and Inter Miami. But I just had to look no further than the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah. All right,
Player of the year for our teams.
All right, so for I had two. So I had the wide receiver of the Kansas City Chiefs. His rookie season has been a good one. Rashee Rice, by far, for the Chiefs has been a good one. And for the Kansas City Royals, we have the first 30-30-30 season of a Royal all-time, Bobby Witt Jr. Bobby?
Yep, and I am actually, for mine, I have underperforming teams right now. But not only do I have underperforming teams, I have underperforming players on underperforming teams. So my player of the year for my teams is currently Brian Robinson Jr. for having really a very strong approach to the year. Terry's had an off year. Chris Sale was bad. Like, really just could not. There was nothing on any of my teams that really had a lot to say for themselves and make a case for themselves. But Devers maybe, but even then. And no, the Baltimore Orioles are not officially one of my teams. I am just a pro Baltimore, like, I don't hate them, Red Sox fan. Player of the year overall.
Right, so this one was a tough one for me because I could have done like a Rangers player, but there wasn't really a distinct one that you could have.
Corey Seager?
Well, you still have Marcus Semien and a few others, and Seager had a good season, but I wanted to go overall for the year as a whole. So, without further ado, I'm going to put on my I Love Shohei Ohtani shirt and be proud of it. And I'm going to say best player of the year overall is Shohei Ohtani, because he did it exceptionally well on both the mound and at the diamond when hitting and when he was pitching. Even though he kind of broke down near the end of the year, that's kind of what happens when you kick ass, both on and off the field.
My player of the year is a tie. But I did not pick an MLB player. I went in the NFL and took Christian McCaffrey for a player of the year. But then I also moved into the NBA. And I said Nikola Jokic for that postseason performance that he had as he led the Denver Nuggets to winning their first NBA title in franchise history. Coach of the year.
So I was kind of torn on this one. Obviously, the way the Chiefs are going, Andy Reid is not looking like a good pick. I could have put Eric Bieniemy in there, but he's more of an offensive coordinator. I could have gone like in the route of the Baltimore Orioles coach. I could have gone anywhere else, but I went with the only coach in MLB history to win multiple World Series with two different teams, and that is Bruce Bochy of the Texas Rangers. He has won now 4 World Series, 1 with the Rangers and 3 with the San Francisco Giants.
All right. I went a different route. I this year decided to go with a coach in the NFL. Now, there were 3 coaches at this point that I think took a major portion in the running. And they were D'Amico Ryans, MCDC, Motor City Dan Campbell, and the combination of Rob Schneider and Logic, McDaniel. I am taking Mike McDaniel just simply because of just overall delivery, just his unique approach as a coach, the creativity in his offensive scheme.
Former ball boy from the Broncos.
It's a revolutionary type of coach that is right up there for Coach of the Year this year. And yes, the only reason why I say Rob Schneider and Logic, it's a blend there, but yeah, you kind of had the Rob Schneider look, but he has the Logic style voice. He sounds a little
like Logic.
He sound he does sound.
He's got the looks too, because like he's got like that very hipster like approach.
Yeah.
Like, that and like I remember at one point last season they were joking on the Pat McAfee show that supposedly allegedly that Mike McDaniel was ripping a jewel during like a football game, but it was just really cold that day, and everybody's like, oh. They're expecting, oh, is he ripping some fat vape clouds or whatever? And it's like, I don't know about that. But anyways, yeah, McDaniel is a good one in my. I think he's a better. I think he's a good coach.
I will say that MCDC and how he's turned around that Lions culture, it does deserve its flowers.
Yeah.
Especially because this year has been the complete culmination of it. But I have celebrated this man throughout the process. Mm-hmm. And I knew that you were initially, when we were initially talking about this, you were thinking I was going to go MCDC.
Yeah, because you were like on the whole MCDC train, which I didn't mind. I was just like,
I never hopped off. And I don't think I ever really hopped off the Mike McDaniel train either. I just have found him to be a very, very interesting person.
Man, that's a long round trip ticket there, Mr. Spenace. Very long and expensive train.
No, but I mean, but still, I never had haterade for Mike McDaniel though. That's kind of where I was at there. So like I had like positive things to say about both.
Yeah.
The surprise player, I mean, which actually has more so kind of ended up being the rookie.
Yeah, like because I didn't hear I didn't think much of CJ Stroud. Like the season that he had compared to his homie over there, Bryce Young and the Panthers, like, whew, Bryce Young got cooked in the wrong way. And CJ Stroud, like, got marinated a little bit and then was taken out of marination and was set to high on the stove, and he was just cooking. He was doing the works, and Tank Dell really helped that out. The defense of the Texans also helped out, but Stroud, like, damn, like, he looked good out there. And that's my surprise player of the year.
Yeah, I think for me, Stroud is surprising, but not in the same fashion because I was not as high on Stroud as a draft pick. However, I loved how he had performed as a rookie. But my pick comes from the lower end of the same draft class. And that is LA Rams receiver Puka Nacua. Yes, I am taking Puka Nacua as my surprise player this year, kind of my rookie. Because to come in and fill in the big shoes that he had to fill in replacing Cooper Kupp as a number one guy for a passing offense. Huge.
Yeah.
And to replace Cooper Kupp and then be able to move into the number 2 spot and supplement him on top of that is where I think Puka Nacua has done wonders.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised I was able to pick him up early in the fantasy season because no one thought, oh, Nakula's going to do it again. Here we go. And then bam, like just an insane season. But yeah, I think he was a good surprise one too. Surprising teams or team.
Surprise team.
I put the Texas Rangers as I didn't think they were even going to get to the damn World Series, but here we are, and they won it, and I was happy because it was their first time ever winning a World Series. Because last decade in the 2010s, it was either them or the Cardinals in the World Series. It was either them or the Giants.
And yeah, they got there twice, and
yeah, and they got screwed each time. And then they had their choice. They had their chance later in the 2010s, in 2015 and in 2016. They had a better shot in 2015 as they were in the division series against the Blue Jays and ended up losing later in that series to the Blue Jays at Rogers Center. And then the next year after that, they ended up losing like in the wild card, I think, I think it was the division series. They lost in that too, and that was against the Indians, I believe. Now Guardians.
Yeah. All right. So my other one, my surprise, is actually I went again NFL, and my surprise pick for the NFL is actually a team that is still contending for a playoff spot. Drafted incredibly brilliantly. And DeMeco Ryans has shined in his first year. And like I said, I knew that I could give players and moments flowers at like certain points in time. This is my time to give the Houston Texans their flowers, as they are really the most surprising team that I've seen from the NFL this year. The Detroit Lions, people could say that, but I figured they would have gotten there by now. And now they did. I figured they were close. Now they're there. So I'm going with the Texans because I feel like they came out of absolutely nowhere. Disappointing player.
Well, this one was kind of easy, but in a way where it's like, okay, we have all these players, but I put mine in for my disappointing player is Kyle Schwarber, because the man, he had the pop on the bat, but the problem was he kept on swinging and missing, and For most of the season for fantasy baseball, he was kind of a bum, and everybody was wondering if they should keep him because he would still get dingers every once in a while, but his batting average was god awful. It was like at one point it was like it broke double digits. And
he finished below the Mendoza line at a 197, had 47 home runs and 104 RBIs. And he struck out a grand total of 215 times.
Too many times.
Entirely, because he only had 19 doubles the whole year and 115 hits.
Yeah.
Yet you strike out 215 times. You nearly doubled your number of strikeouts from your hit total. Inexcusable.
Yeah, not good. All right, Mr. Spenace.
My disappointing player is more so from a spot that he ended up getting, but then not being able to take advantage of it, as they had running backs come in and outperform him. And that is Alexander Madison. Were there good games here and there? Yeah. But did they really take advantage of it? But did he really take advantage of the good that he had to be able to springboard it from game to game? Nope. And now Ty Chandler has been running the ball better than him, and the Vikings had already traded for Cam Akers and Alexander Madison not being able to deliver. Granted that the Vikings have been dealing with a slew of injuries, but Madison not playing up to the snuff that we thought he would be just showed that he was more of a Robin back than a Batman back.
Yeah.
Disappointing team.
All right, time to beat the dead horse again. I'm gonna pick the Tennessee Titans as my disappointing.
Well, you're beating
team.
the dead horse that is the Tennessee Titans. We've beaten up on it a good bit, but this is the first time we've beaten up on it in a while. So you're good.
Sorry, not sorry, PETA.
Proceed.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Spenace.
My disappointing team is, in the simple 4 letters, Jets, 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 Jets. A schedule that probably played a little bit more into their hands. The right talent. One major injury to a quarterback should not have derailed the Jets as badly as it did.
Also, I don't know if ayahuasca was involved, but it probably was. Good old A-Rod.
Yeah, but I don't know if that would have completely been involved in actually ripping his Achilles.
But I was just ripping on the guy while he's down. All right.
And we're gonna go to the dud of the year and then the stud.
All right. So my dud of the year.
We'll do it backwards. Yep.
My dud of the year is just it's not necessarily like something that happened this year where I made it a dud, but the injury bug to NFL quarterbacks. It has been a lot rougher than it has been in the past, where you had maybe 1 or 2 teams have to use a backup QB, and it was this year where you had a lot of backups and even people that were coming straight off the couch to play, like Joe Flacco. I don't know.
There were I think at least 2 quarterbacks, or no, 2 to 3 teams that have had to use 3 or more.
Yep, and it's just it's been rough. To say the least. You don't have Joe Burrow anymore. You don't have Deshaun Watson anymore for the rest of the season. You don't have You don't have Anthony Richardson, the rookie from the Colts, anymore. You just don't have a lot of guys. Jimmy G is one exception because he just was bad. He didn't have anything wrong with him. And then now, speaking of which, Russell Wilson got benched. We forgot.
Yeah,
to
he
cover
just got
that.
benched too. Yep.
So it's like, damn. Yeah, that's my dud, is the injury bug to the QBs of the National Football League.
My dud this year, and this happened entirely too much, whether we talked about it or not. On-field violence. Too many fights. Too many ejections for violent acts. Even if it was a hit in game that resulted in fights happening. I mean, bench clearing brawls. I mean, John Boy does make his YouTube living off of making baseball breakdowns of different fights that go on. So he's basically like the baseball world star. but the on-field violence was just a little, like, as far as punches being thrown and things of that nature, I just gotta say it was too much. There was too much of it this year, and it kind of needs to get curbed. And last but not least, our major award, the Stud of the Year.
I feel like this is gonna start to become Baldur's Gate 3, like in the Game Awards, where they won almost every award, but technically that's not what happened. But my Stud of the Year has got to be Shohei Ohtani, and it is because of the stud the episode I did where I talked about how Ohtani came out from pitching due to a broken thumb, and then later hit a dinger in that same game with a broken thumb. Absolute stud material right there. Congrats, Shohei.
I brought the stud this year for me home. And by home, I am talking a hometown kid and his journey to becoming at least an NFL starter from a Division II university, granted at a premier high school where he won a couple of state championships at quarterback. I got his jersey this year for Christmas in blue. I wanted it in orange, but NFL Shop just decided to say, you can't do it that way. You got to get it in blue. Got to get it in the home blue. And that man is the secret Bajent man, Tyson Bajent. The reason why I chose Tyson was simply because of the number of times that I have kind of over the last year put him in the stud category. Especially throughout that journey and that process. And for me, I gotta give it to the hometown kid. Stud of the year.
All right, so that was our year in review.
And
so now we go to our stud and duds
of the final week of 2023.
All right,
and I'll let you rip through it first.
All right, so my stud involves a purple team that is in Baltimore, and that is the Baltimore Ravens, as their defense was hitting up Brock Purdy with 4 interceptions total. Well, actually, no. Well, yeah. 4
it was
interceptions
5 total. It was 5 total, but Darnold threw the last one.
Yep, and Kyle Hamilton with the 2. And then my dud for the last episode of 2023 is the Grinch stealing the Chiefs' offense, as the Raiders just put on a clinic, and it was hard to watch. But an honorable mention for a dud. This goes to, if you guys were wondering what the update was on Wander Franco, the current former shortstop of the Tampa Bay Rays. His home was raided by Santo Domingo Prosecutor's Office of Children and Adolescents twice in one day and was not found. Shocker. I don't know if that means that they'll eventually find him, or if that just means that he's gonna, like, I guess, just try to keep escaping, or what's gonna happen, but it's the one contract that the Rays signed big on for a player out of anyone else on their team, and this happens. It's crazy, but yeah, that's my honorable mention for a dud with Wander Franco. It was gonna technically be a bad earlier, but I just decided to make it a dud. Go ahead, Spenace.
My studs. My stud this week goes to the LA Chargers media team for putting up another well comedically made video involving Cameron Dicker, the kicker, and his campaign for the Pro Bowl. And if you have watched that, it is... I cracked up. Like, it was funny. It was not, like, it was a little late for the lull moment of the year, but man, it was good. My honorable mention for the dud: Mike Tolbert, a former running back for the Carolina Panthers. Man, he was wailing on the Panthers drum for their keep pounding drum. He hit it so hard that he ripped a hole in it. So they got to change the drum head. And then the last one, the actual dud of the week, is Packers cornerback Jair Alexander. And this is a concept of when you're dealing with the captains, it's like, and you see him who's not a captain go up and, who died and made you boss? As Jair Alexander all of a sudden anointed himself as a captain. He nearly botched the call after winning the coin toss. And though the Cheeseheads managed to get the win, this was inexcusable according to Matt LaFleur, and Jair Alexander got suspended one game for his actions in that situation. It just goes to show that not everything in Green Bay is completely in order, even though they are close to making the playoffs again.
Yeah.
And feeling like a step is barely missed. Ruckus, go ahead and take us out.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast, episode number 81. This has been a Ruckus and The Menace Sports production. This is also the last episode of 2023, and we thank you again for watching our content and watching and listening to the podcast.
Super Bowl race playoffs start this weekend.
Yes, sir, and it's Friday night. It starts Friday night, and we'll have the premieres set for... So mine is set for 7 p.m. Central. So if
you're on the East Coast, it'll be 8 o'clock on Friday night. You get Ruckus. And then at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 o'clock if you're on the West Coast. On Saturday, December 30th, you get Duval and the Jacksonville Jaguars, as I will take on the Las Vegas Raiders.
And so for the premieres, if you cannot make it for the 7 p.m., the videos are about an hour long, so if you don't make it for the premiere, you can still watch it later. The premiere is literally just a like a special thing you can do where when the video first comes out as an upload, you can like make it treated almost like a live stream, but it's more just that it's more of a special preview.
Yes.
The premiere countdown though is set for 5 minutes, so if you don't get there right at 7, there'll be a 5-minute countdown so that you could get drinks or whatever you gotta do for this. But anyways, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to this podcast and another year in the books for Spenace and I. Thank you for watching again. Leave a like if you like it. Share the podcast with the homies, and we'll see you guys later.
Yep, deuces.